put you in a small corner. Okay, yeah, so thank you that I have the opportunity to present ManyDogs 2 here today, and I will talk about overimitation in dogs. So first of all, what is overimitation? This can be defined as the copying of unnecessary or causally irrelevant actions. And to start with, I have a little video to show you I found on social media, which quite nicely shows overimitation. So we have a demonstrator showing a task, and then he copies her action, but not only what's relevant for decorating a cake, but also her irrelevant action of holding his phone. So as you can see, humans show overimitation, and especially human children, they often reproduce the demonstrator's actions exactly, even when more efficient solutions would be available. And although non-human primates show a great variety of social learning mechanisms, also including imitation, they differ from humans in one important aspect. So far, they have not shown the faithful copying of all demonstrated actions, including irrelevant ones. And that is why overimitation has been considered uniquely human in the past. But then subsequent studies at the Clever Dog Lab here in Vienna have shown that dogs overimitate. So now let's have a look at some previous overimitation studies in dogs. For example, Johnston and colleagues showed that 70% of dogs and dingoes together copied an irrelevant lever action, and they did it at least in the first trial. Then in the first study that was conducted in Vienna, half of pet dogs copied a causal irrelevant action that was demonstrated by their guardian. But when the same test was conducted in a follow-up study, only few dogs copied the irrelevant action, as their demonstrator was an unfamiliar experimenter. In another study, it was shown that those dogs that copied more irrelevant actions showed more referential and affiliative behaviors to the guardian. And referential and affiliative behaviors can be, for example, gazing at the guardian, play behavior, or greeting behavior. Then another study, which was conducted by Louise Mackey, she's also here today, I think. She tested social priming in dogs, and this had no significant effect on overimitation. So they saw one stimulus before another stimulus was introduced. And there was a group of unprimed dogs, and those copied the fewest actions. Then she also looked at causal misunderstanding in dogs during an overimitation task. And she showed the task's actions to some of the dogs, to one group. And even though the dogs had now prior experience of those actions and knew that one of them was irrelevant, they still copied this irrelevant action. But what they found here was that they mainly copy it after already achieving the goal of the relevant action, which was to get a toy reward from a bucket. So all those studies show that overimitation might be driven by social relationship and affiliation rather than by causal misunderstanding. So now here you can see the relevant action that was used in the first study at the Clever Dog Lab and also in subsequent studies. This was to open a sliding door with the nose to gain access to a food chamber. And in this food chamber, a treat was hidden for the dog, so it's very relevant to them. And then we have the irrelevant action of touching a blue and yellow dot with the nose. And here nothing happens, so there is no effect in the sense of a change of a physical environment of the dog. And also this irrelevant action was spatially and temporally disconnected from the relevant action. Yeah, so now I come to ManyDogs. What is ManyDogs? This is an international consortium producing high-powered reproducible research within the canine science subfield of animal behavior. And as you might know, there has been ManyDogs 1, where they investigated whether dogs are more likely to follow pointing that is performed ostensively, so in a highly communicative way, using a high-pitched voice and making eye contact, or non-ostensively, so not communicative. And they tested 455 dogs at 20 research sites in a 2 alternative object choice task. And what they found was that the dog's performance was significantly above chance in both conditions. So when the pointing was performed ostensive and also non-ostensive, but there was no significant difference in the dog's responses between the conditions. And this result was consistent across the sites. And now ManyDogs 2 will similarly investigate the dog-human social interaction, but this time we look at overimitation. So since previous research showed that dogs that overimitated tended to also show more referential and affiliative behaviors, and there is also evidence against the causal misunderstanding, it could be concluded that the relationship between an observing dog and a demonstrating human influences whether the dogs copy all actions, also the irrelevant ones. And in ManyDogs 2 now, the aim is to conduct again a large-scale investigation of whether dogs will be more likely to overimitate.
Full screen button, close, minimize button, change screen, menu meeting.
I'm hearing a voice now.
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so we want to see whether dogs overimitate the guardian or a stranger more, and we want to gain further evidence to support the influence of social factors such as affiliation or relationship between the demonstrator and the observing dog. And of course, we want to do this at many different research sites and have a very big sample size again. And now I come to our research questions and the hypothesis. So the main research question of the study is, does familiarity with the model have a cross-lab effect on overimitation in dogs in the dot touching task? So it will be again guardian or stranger as a demonstrator. And given that the prior literature has exhibited an effect of model familiarity on social learning in animals, and there is also evidence from previous studies that revealed this effect in overimitation in dogs, we hypothesize that the dogs are more likely to copy the causally irrelevant action if they are demonstrated by their familiar guardian rather than by a stranger. And on this note, we also hypothesize this for the relevant action so that they also copy more when the guardian rather than the stranger is demonstrating this task. Another question we ask is what kinds of dogs engage in overimitation during this dot touching task. So we want to look at the breed types here. And we hypothesize that some breeds, which are the cooperative breeds, such as retrievers or sheepdogs or cattle dogs, may be more prone to overimitate than other breeds, which are more independent, such as terriers. Sorry. And we also want to know whether the dog-human interactions are related to overimitation. So here we think that dogs' training levels and the attachment level to their guardian can predict overimitation. Now I come to the setup. For the relevant action, we don't have a sliding door, but we have a bucket, an opaque bucket that is baited with a treat, and there is a lid on top, which has to be removed to gain access to the treat. And the irrelevant action is again the touching of the blue and yellow dot on the wall, as in previous studies. Here you can see the floor plan of the whole setup and how this looks like in the Clever Dog Lab. As you can see, there is also a third white dot. This is our control dot to control for any scent cues or whether the dogs are just exploring the dots. And also this time we made them 3D to make them a bit more salient than before. Yeah, so to answer the question, which kinds of dogs are overimitators, we will use the Guardian questionnaire, which is a survey on Qualtrics that can be sent to the participants via email before they participate in the behavioral test. And it includes questions from the Lexington Attachment to Pet scale, so about attachment. And then the training section we took from the CBARC, which is the Canine Behavioral Assessment and Research Questionnaire. And the dogs will participate in one test session. This contains of one food finding warm-up game. And then we have 4 test trials as a within subject design. So the dog will see either a demonstration of irrelevant and relevant action by their guardian or by the stranger experimenter. And they will always use ostensive addressing. And after each trial, there will be 1 minute for the dog to roam freely and try to solve the task. We also counterbalance the demonstration order of the touching of the irrelevant dots. This is between subjects, so the dogs see either a yellow then blue or a blue then yellow demonstration. And this is to control for a stimulus enhancement, so the behavior where a subject is only orienting towards the demonstrated location or object rather than matching them. And we also counterbalance the colors location, so either the left dot could be the yellow dot or the left dot could be the blue dot or vice versa, so that we can see any color preference, as recently free-ranging dogs in India were found to have a preference for the color yellow. Okay, so now here is the warm-up procedure. I hope it works to play the video. So the experimenter hides a treat behind one of 3 locations, and then the dog can go and search for the treat. And this is in total done 6 times. And the treat is hidden at different locations. And then here you can see now the test trial procedure, where we always make eye contact with the dog. And then we tap the dot and then we do the touching. And the dog should watch the demonstration. In this case, this is my dog Filou, who saw the procedure many times and he knows where the treat is, so he doesn't want to look at the dots anymore. And then the dog can solve this task. I will just quickly mention the data analysis. So we will code whether the dogs touch at least one of the irrelevant dots. So they are then considered overimitators. This is binomial. Then we will also copy the code the copying accuracy of the irrelevant and the relevant action. So from 0 to 3, 0 meaning that they did not touch any of the dots or they did not touch the bucket. And 3 would mean that they copied an action exactly as they saw it in the demonstration. We code whether they open the bucket. And as you saw on the floor plan and in the video, we have a marked approach area around the bucket and also in front of the dots, where we can code if they approach it or not. And then what's also interesting is the timing of the irrelevant action. As I already said in previous studies, they first got the reward and then they copied the irrelevant action. So we will also have a look at this. And then we want to code the colors of the dots that are touched. So did they touch maybe just the blue dot, or did they touch the control dot, or no dot at all? And now this is maybe the most important part, because you can join the ManyDogs 2 project, and all researchers interested in collecting data are very welcome to join this project. It's currently open for research collaborators to register for the data collection. And this will include the contribution of behavioral data and the online survey data from at least 16 dogs. If you are not already a ManyDogs 2 research member, you can do this first by scanning the left QR code and sign up. And if you then are a research member, you can also register as a ManyDogs 2 collaborator to collect data. I think you can also scan the QR code later, as you have the slides for it. And then the deadlines, so you can register until April the 1st next year. And the data submission deadline is at the end of June. And if you scan this QR code, it will lead you to the ManyDogs 2 website, where you also find the study manual, which is very detailed. So if you have any questions, you will find answers in the manual, or ask them now, or you can also, of course, write an email. You can see on the right side the email address manydogsproject2@gmail.com. And we would be very happy to have some more labs joining. Thank you very much for your attention and for the opportunity to tell you more about ManyDogs.
Thanks. I'm having Zoom trouble now. Happy to take questions. We've got a couple minutes if folks just want to unmute and ask, or you can type in the chat. And my question is, how well do the dogs have to be trained? Because I have 2 hyperactive beagles.
They don't have to be trained. It's just something we assess in the questionnaire. So we know maybe some dogs are very trained, some are not trained at all, and we can see if this influences the behavior, but it's not a prerequisite to train the dogs.
So do you control for breed as well, my assumption?
Yes, and we put them into this breed type groups to see, are they more independent workers or cooperative, and then we'll see.
Oh, cool. Other folks.
Hi.
so I can keep asking. So how many, I guess, I've only seen the first one. So how many dogs makes this large, so to speak? How many,
Sorry, what?
how many pets are we trying to get to? Yeah.
Yeah, the goal would be to kind of keep up with the first study. So 20 sites would be ideal. And then if everyone collects their data from 16 dogs or more, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
what's a normal size, I guess, is like 15 to 20 dogs?
yeah, like 16 to how much you can get. And if you know someone who works in a lab, feel free to share any QR codes or links.
It's like teaching class, right? Okay, I'll hit stop on the recording.